Hi, I'm Carl Zymak, and this is another installment of Coffee with Rick Sollars. Rick, how are you doing today?
Good, Carl. How are you?
Not too bad, not too bad. Yesterday, the Wayne County Circuit Court, Judge Patricia Frizzard ruled in favor of the Taylor Professional Firefighters Local 1252, okay, in their case against the City of Taylor. This is something that your campaign has been hammering on.
Yes.
Your opponent loves to call you a tax hiker, which you're not.
Correct.
And he claims to control taxes and things like that. Explain this ruling and how does that play into the financial picture of the City of Taylor?
Well, let me go back to when this all started, Carl. There's a clause in the contract that said anytime we were going to do fire-based EMS, we had to have a certain amount of people on staff. That contract was approved in the previous term. And so what this administration decided to do was basically violate the contract. They laid off 18 firefighters and said, you guys are going to still continue to provide transporting. It was a clear violation of the contract. It went against every attorney's basically direction to the administration. They all said the same thing, you cannot do this. And the administration kept arguing, well, we have no choice, we have no choice. So they did it anyway. So what that really means, Carl, is that we lost 18 employees. Ultimately, I think even 19. I think there was a 19th guy that was ultimately laid off, but it was later on in the event. But we lost 18 or 19 employees, and now we're being ordered to pay them all of their back pay, all of their benefits, all of their whatever accrued time they had. And so that number comes in to the amount of $700,000. It's a significant amount of money. And so what the administration has done, we knew this was coming. We budgeted for it because the arbitration ruling came down, but what the administration was doing was kind of just trickling money to them rather than just paying them. And so there was a grievance filed, and what this judge has now ordered is to the city, pay it. You don't have a choice anymore, pay it. So I want to just take a minute and explain how that works. While the administration will argue that this is budgeted, there's a lot of things budgeted that we don't have money for. This is one of those things. We don't have money earmarked for this amount of money. So my question is how are we going to pay this now? And ultimately, if we can't pay it, what happens next? And what happens next, anytime there's a judgment in this type of capacity, it could ultimately be levied on the tax roll if we can't afford to pay it. So it's interesting to see how this whole thing plays out. At the end of the day, though, it's very unfortunate because this could have been avoided simply by working with the union, trying to negotiate better, trying to compromise a little bit more, not just ruling with an iron fist saying this is what we're going to do and this is how we're going to do it because we violated the contract. Ultimately, it cost the taxpayers $700,000, and this was the decision of one person. Everybody else involved knew what was going to happen. We all advised against it. We argued and argued and argued, and the administration continued to go down this path, and now the rubber has met the road, so to speak.
And it really comes down to nobody else but really him, right?
Absolutely. This is an executive decision. Mm-hmm. The attorneys all, they said, look, the contract's clear, Mayor. Mm-hmm. You can't do this. And even the local 1252's attorney said the same thing. Guys, it's a clear violation of the contract. Why are you doing this to the city? If you want to sit down and negotiate, fine, but you can't just plow through this. Mm-hmm. And so, it comes down to just that, an executive decision, and, we're here where we are today as a result of it.
Isn't it somewhat ironic? Because when you go back in time to this period of time, and it lengthened over the course, mm-hmm. The mayor was claiming a large victory in contract negotiations with the Taylor firefighters. He felt that by delaying or turning down the safer grant, by going head-to-head with the council, by ending up in court, that he would turn the screws to the union and eventually get a better contract out of them. And the irony is, blows up in his face, correct?
It blew up in his face and ultimately blew up in our face.
Right.
Because at the end of the day, this still falls on the backs of the taxpayers of Taylor, and we have to find a solution now how to deal with it. And so, while it's very close to the election, my guess is the mayor will try to defer this as long as he possibly can, so this does not have to rear its ugly head before November 5th. we ultimately are going to have to find a way, how do we tackle $700,000 of accrued liability now related to a clear contract violation? And the real bad part about all this, Carl, is we also lost services for that period of time.
Right.
And we're paying for something that we didn't get. And all because we violated the contract. We being the city, ultimately that was an executive decision.
Doesn't this go back again to something that you've been arguing throughout your campaign, and that is managerial skill?
Absolutely.
You bring a certain amount on your resume. You've run private businesses. They have been profitable. They have been successful. You have a large amount of experience in city government. With your opponent, he was a teacher. Okay, nothing wrong with that, but he doesn't bring the same resume to the table. And in these type of situations, you just can't rip up contracts and throw them away.
I think we're seeing that his lack of experience is very clear here. Mm-hmm. What we're witnessing in this, amongst any other potential liability case that's still coming, because there's others that are out there. What we're seeing is his lack of experience in the business world, and in the real world you can't do this. I mean, you just can't do while he's gonna jump up and down and claim victory and all these things. I mean, how is a $700,000 plus liability? And Carl, we're not even talking about attorney costs yet. That's just what's paid out as a result of this grievance. Right. The other side of this is how much has been tied up in attorney fees. Again, I mean, this administration, they tend to challenge the letter of the law rather than embracing the spirit of the law. Mm-hmm. And that applies to contract law as well. And they find these little clauses and say, we don't interpret it to say that. But it's clear. I mean, we're dealing with professionals here, and clearly he's an amateur.
You alluded to the point, other things hanging out there. 1128 arbitration is upcoming.
That's correct.
And
it's ongoing.
It's ongoing right now, and there's a limit to what you can say about it. But explain that one, and where do you sit with it from the city standpoint?
Another clear minimum staffing issue. There's a violation of the minimum staffing clause. With this coming down and really the directive being clear that you can't violate the minimum staffing clause, whether we like it or not, that's not the discussion. It's there. That's another clear minimum staffing clause. We're currently violating it. We're still violating it today, and they're not making any change of direction. I've heard some speculation by the administration that arbitration award could be as high as $500,000 or more. So you look at the total of those two alone, it's $1.2 million, and we haven't even discussed what those attorney fees are. Right. So there's just better, smarter ways of managing, and there's better, smarter ways of attacking contracts and negotiating contracts. But you have to do them all with two famous words, and that's good faith. When you lose good faith, you lose all the ability to negotiate. And I think good faith in this case was gone a long time ago.
And that's a shame.
It is. It is.
Well, I'll tell you what, Rick, till next time.
Thanks, Carl.
This has been another Coffee with Rick Sollars.
Thank you.
All right.